Hello, it's me, Rice, returning with another movie review. This time I'm talking about Joker 2, which just came out, and is making a lot of waves online, not in a positive way, I will say that. And I'm just going to say immediately, I'm here to join in maybe on the trend of hating on this movie, but maybe more just in the middle. I'm kind of just meh on this movie. I don't think it's that great. I don't think it's like abysmal. I just think it kind of doesn't need to exist. That's kind of where I'm at with this movie. To touch briefly on the first movie, I haven't watched it like since 2019, since it first came out. But I remember liking it, so I was excited, I was interested in a sequel. But at the same time, I was kind of on board with everyone else that was saying it doesn't need a sequel. But I was still just intrigued, and especially when they announced that Lady Gaga was playing Harley Quinn, I was like, okay, now we're getting more Joker characters, more comic book characters. Maybe then it will be interesting to see how they take other characters and do this, more grounded twist that they already did with Joker. And that's what I got. And it was kind of boring, I feel. Like, yes, Harley Quinn was in this movie, but maybe now, as even bigger of a comic book media fan than I was 5 years ago, it feels even more kind of, uninspired or just not very interesting to me to have this kind of really, really grounded take on such a zany character. But at the same time, I still think if I rewatched Joker 1, I would enjoy it. So maybe it was just for some reason, Harley wasn't that interesting to me. I think she just wasn't that deeply written. There was some interesting things to begin with, but towards the end, I kind of wasn't sure what they were trying to go with for her character. It kind of just felt a bit aimless. But then at the same time, Lady Gaga's performance was really good. Same with Joaquin Phoenix's. Everyone's performances were in this were great. From a technical standpoint, the movie's really good. Cinematography is on point once again. Acting, performances across the board, really good. The music's really good. This is a musical, and from a technical standpoint, the music is really good. It sounds great. In IMAX, it sounded amazing. But even then, I'll get into this a little bit in a second, but the musical aspects, narratively, I don't think landed too well. But technical standpoint, this film is really great, just like the first one. It's just that I feel like the story didn't do enough to justify having a sequel. There are some semi-big ideas it introduces towards the end, which I can't really go into because of spoiler territory. I would say like the very ending is kind of what I'm going for, so if you've seen it, you kind of get what I mean. But if you haven't seen it, I won't spoil. Generally, it kind of feels a bit too self-referential to the first movie. It feels a bit too much like a retread, and not just in the usual sequel movie way. It almost just feels like I'm watching more of the same, but in a less interesting fashion, and it's just kind of boring me. And then something new will happen, I'll be like, oh yeah, more of that please. And then we won't get more of that. So then I'm back to being kind of bored. But like not fully bored because, oh, there's some good acting from Joaquin Phoenix, and oh, there's some good music. And oh wow, that shot was really cool. And then I kind of sit back and I'm like, wait a second, what's actually happening? Why should I care? And that's the problem. I just couldn't find myself caring about what was going on because not a lot was going on, but at the same time it felt like the movie was trying to portray to me that a lot was happening and that this is the biggest court case in the century and this is Gotham's time in the limelight in America, and like this is like the biggest thing on earth in this time. But at the same time I just kind of felt like, is it though? Is it really? And they kind of make a point that it's not that big of a deal. By the end it's like, oh, this is just something that happened and it will just be passed by. But you can't have your cake and eat it too, because you're really trying to portray that this is a big deal within the world of the film, but then have like this kind of like twist where it's not twist, but just, twist on the formula of a big budget movie where it's like, well, we're trying to show you that this is just kind of true to life and that horrible things happen to people all the time and that society, mistreats people with mental illnesses all the time and whatnot and blah, blah, blah. But like, I don't know what you're trying to say because now you're kind of confusing me. But at the same time, you're not confusing me because you're not really doing a lot. And I'm not really confused. I'm just kind of meh. So yeah, the musical aspects were okay. The singing was good because obviously it's like Lady Gaga, Joaquin Phoenix can actually sing. So like, yeah, they can sing. Technically, again, I said this, but from a technical standpoint, the music sounds good. But from a narrative standpoint, it feels disconnected. Most musicals, you need to have that kind of, it needs to fit in completely, that these people are singing to progress the plot, to progress the narrative, and to introduce motives and little character quirks and important plot points, and just really engross the songs in the narrative so that the viewer doesn't feel like, oh, here we go again, another song. They're like, okay, here we go, a song. I get to learn more. I get to really invest myself in this world. Instead, with the Joker 2 musical sequences, it feels like it takes me out. It feels like, oh right, we were just in the middle of the movie and here we go for this weird detour for music. It's like music time, okay, and then we go back to the actual film. I shouldn't be feeling like the musical elements are from something else. I shouldn't be feeling like it's an interruption whatsoever. It should just feel like oh right, it's musical time because I'm watching a musical. I kind of had to remind myself that this is a musical because I forget, because it doesn't do anything to really engross the musical elements into the film, to bake them in. You need it to be essential to the movie that this is a musical, and it doesn't feel like that. It feels like an optional afterthought that they kind of just threw in, but kind of want it to be like a main factor, but at the same time it's just not. And then my last complaint is the ending. The thing that I was left on, I literally put my head in my hands. I don't do that for movies a lot. I don't react like that unless it's like Borderlands or something really bad. But all of a sudden, the movie just kind of hits you in the face with, I don't even know, because I can't spoil it. It's just, I thought it was really, really stupid. I just thought it was a silly ending. I thought it was not good, to put it bluntly. And I just think that's a bad taste to leave me with. You don't want your audience to walk away from the movie either being confused or being dumbfounded and a bit like, well, that was stupid. What was that? You want them to be left with, if anything, good reaction, or just, reaction, which was what it was going to be. And then all of a sudden I was like, what the hell is this? And now that's what I'll think about the movie as. That movie where it ends with one of the silliest endings I've ever seen, but the rest of the movie was trying to be really dark and serious and gritty and have something to say, but then it fell into the trap of other comic book movies and the movies it kind of doesn't want to be. Because this is another complaint, but you can tell Todd Phillips doesn't want to be making a DC movie. You can tell he doesn't really want to be making a comic book movie, but he is. So at the same time, there's these weird trappings he still falls into. So it's kind of just ironic that he wants to kind of avoid the genre or the medium that he's in, still kind of follows its rules and its previous setbacks. But yeah, Joker 2, it's just kind of mediocre at best. It could have been really good. I think there was a lot of potential with the idea of a musical, with the idea of introducing Harley Quinn. I think it's just a lot of wasted potential, and they really should have just either left it alone or really done something special. And obviously they didn't leave it alone, and for me, they didn't do anything special. All that being said, I'm going to give Joker 2 a rice ball. My next video should be a review on Transformers 1 because it's finally coming out in the UK today when I release this video. So I'm gonna finally get to talk about that because I've heard lots of good things about it and it's kind of going viral on Twitter for fun reasons, which I might talk about in the video. And then I think Terrifier 3 should review that too. And then I've got something special, quite interesting coming up after that. But see what it is when I post it. But that should be next week. But until then, have a rice day.